the privilege trap that kills nations. Before we proceed deeper into this examination of historical patterns, elite hubris, and the mechanisms of societal decline, allow me a brief word. Should any portion of today's discussion strike a chord, whether it be a particular parallel from the past or a clearer understanding of the forces at work, please consider showing your support by liking the episode, sharing it with others who might find it of value, and following or subscribing so you never miss future installments. Your engagement truly matters. It is what sustains this platform and allows us to keep bringing these important, often uncomfortable, reflections to light. We're talking about a pattern that's playing out right in front of us, one that echoes through history and warns us about where unchecked power and arrogance can drag a society. I'm thinking specifically about the slow erosion happening in places like Germany, but really it's a bigger story about how elites in any system start to believe their privileges are eternal, how they plunder the productive heart of a nation through endless taxes, welfare expansions, and forced redistribution, and how that always plants the seeds of degeneracy, decline, and sometimes total breakdown. This isn't about one bad policy or a temporary dip. It's about a fundamental dynamic where hubris meets extraction, and everyone pays the price, especially future generations. Let's ease into it without giving everything away up front. Imagine a country that once built its strength on innovation, hard work, and real production. Factories humming, businesses thriving, people creating value that lifts everyone. Now picture that same place quietly flipping. Fewer and fewer folks actually making things, while a swelling class of regulators, administrators, and subsidized voices grows fat on the output of the rest. Privileges pile up for those at the top. Pensions that ordinary workers could never dream of, tax-free perks, lifelong security without the grind, while the people footing the bill start checking out, emigrating, or just giving up. The system promises compassion and fairness through heavy taxation and welfare nets. But underneath, it's a machine that disincentivizes effort, breeds dependency, and mortgages tomorrow to pay for today's illusions. What seems like moral high ground today turns into a trap tomorrow, paid for by inflation that quietly steals value from savings, wages, and the next generation's shot at building wealth. That's the teaser. Enforced taking in the name of redistribution isn't kindness. It's a slow poison that rewards hubris and punishes reality. Now here's where things get real. The specifics that show this isn't abstract theory but a live case unfolding. Take the numbers from recent years in Germany. For the first time in a long stretch, total employment actually dropped in 2025, despite hundreds of thousands of net newcomers arriving each year. But zoom in, and it's clear where the pain hits. The private economy shed over 210,000 jobs, with industry alone losing 143,000 in construction, another 23,000. The productive core is shrinking. Meanwhile, the state sector balloons. Public employment tops 5.3 million now, up massively from a decade ago, and that's just the visible tip. Add in the vast shadow world of NGOs, foundations, activist projects, and subsidized outfits, all fed by taxpayer money, and you have a society where fewer produce while more supervise, regulate, control, and consume. Self-employed numbers have been sliding for years too, from over 4 million earlier to around 3.66 million lately. This isn't random. It creates a de facto estate system like the old order in pre-revolutionary France, divided into layers. At the top, professional politicians, senior bureaucrats, and their circle craft privileges for themselves. Pensions up to 71% or more of final pay, tax-free allowances without receipts, early retirements with 75% salary continuation, even court rulings affirming a life without existential worries for certain officials. Then there's the second layer, media outlets, consultants, political foundations, subsidy artists, who wield moral and narrative power but live off the same pot. And below, the third layer, workers, employees, entrepreneurs, small business owners carrying the load with no such shields, paying the bills through layers of taxes and contributions that fund it all. The result? A shift where the state doesn't serve production anymore, it absorbs it. Youth and talent leave at a clip of around 300,000 a year, mostly young and skilled, while proposals float for exit taxes to trap them. The productive flee or shrink operations, leaving heavier burdens on those who stay, accelerating the cycle. This feeds directly into the broader dangers of plundering a country via taxes and social systems, especially welfare expansions. Enforced redistribution, taking from producers to hand out through ever-growing bureaucracies, benefits, and subsidies, is at its core a profound evil for both current and future generations. It starts with good intentions or moral posturing but quickly distorts incentives. Why grind and risk in the private sector when state jobs offer stability, or when welfare cushions idleness? Work ethic erodes, dependency cultures form, and degeneracy sets in, not just economic but social and moral. People adapt to lower expectations, families delay or skip having kids because taxes eat disposable income and future promises feel hollow, birth rates plummet, and societies age into stagnation. Brain drain accelerates as the ambitious emigrate to places with lighter loads, hollowing out the talent pool further. Historical parallels abound. Empires and nations that bloated their unproductive classes through heavy taxation and elite privileges saw their productive bases collapse under the weight. Think Rome's late-era tax farms and currency debasement, or other cases where overtaxation funded patronage until revolts or fiscal implosions followed. The hubris angle ties it all together. Elites, those with definitional power over narratives and first claim on resources, expand their numbers and perks without seeing the unsustainability. They live in a bubble where problems only register if they personally sting, dismissing widespread fears about safety, economic squeeze, or cultural strain as subjective or exaggerated. They test how far the productive layer can bend before snapping, assuming the order holds because it always has. But history shows this blindness is fatal. In France before the Revolution, the upper estates sold offices and titles, bloating their ranks with incompetents who paid for status but contributed little, while the Third Estate crumbled under 22 varieties of taxes amid poor harvests. Reforms were blocked to protect privileges, debts mounted, and when reality hit via bankruptcy and unrest, the whole structure shattered. Not because revolutionaries initially wanted total overthrow, but because compromise was refused until it was too late. The lesson repeats. Elites who can't imagine their systems end accelerate toward it by prioritizing their comfort over the foundation that sustains them. Dig deeper into the themes. Power concentrates when redistribution mechanisms grow unchecked, turning welfare and social systems into tools of plunder rather than genuine support. High taxes discourage investment and entrepreneurship. The Laffer curve dynamics kick in where beyond a point, more rates yield less revenue as activity hides, relocates, or slows. Welfare creates moral hazard, perverse incentives where benefits phase out in ways that trap people in low-effort zones, reducing overall productivity and growth. Studies and patterns across high-tax welfare-heavy places show lower long-term economic expansion, higher dependency ratios, and worse outcomes in mobility than leaner, lower-tax systems that foster self-reliance. Enforced taking also fuels inflation as a hidden tax. Governments run deficits to fund expansive programs, then print money or devalue currency to cover it, eroding savings, pensions, and wages quietly. This destroys value for future generations most brutally. They inherit debt piles, diluted purchasing power, and a shrunken productive economy, all while promised benefits prove illusory amid demographic collapse. Degeneracy follows. A culture of entitlement replaces responsibility. Crime correlations sometimes emerge with welfare cuts in some contexts. But broadly, generous systems without work requirements correlate with family breakdown, lower workforce participation, and a shift from innovation to rent-seeking. In extreme forms, this mirrors patterns under heavy Marxist or communist redistribution experiments, where state control over resources led to shortages, black markets, and societal rot before breakdowns. But even milder versions in democratic welfare states breed similar ills at slower speeds. Overregulation stifles industry, energy policies that ignore reality shut down reliable production, education prioritizes feelings over rigor, and media amplify denial rather than accountability. The productive feel besieged, called names for questioning the system, facing delegitimization for raising alarms about migration strains or fiscal unsustainability, while elites pose morally from their insulated positions. A few stark observations capture this perfectly. One notes we're not in a mere crisis but a creeping collapse. No external shock like oil shocks or bubbles, but internal self-sabotage, a sneaking drowning in our own swamp. Another puts it bluntly, we haven't fallen, we've lain down, normalizing the decline, applauding those who caused it, working our way out of reality instead of crises. Employment data reveals the tilt. Private jobs down sharply, state up relentlessly, self-employed dwindling. Elite perks are called out as systemic, not exceptions, pensions without worries, expansions of bureaucracies justified by not enough offices despite past efficiency. Emigration of the young accelerates the load on remainers, with brain drain and business closures compounding it. The blindness. Problems exist only if they touch the powerful personally. Otherwise, dismissals prevail even as incidents mount. And the ultimate hubris. Elites stake their own existence by pushing boundaries, unable to conceive the end because everything is negotiable until it isn't. The core analogy holds. This hubris demands payment through future taxes and inflation that annihilates value. Today's extraction funds privileges and expansions, but deficits balloon, currencies weaken, and tomorrow's generations face compounded burdens. Higher effective taxation via eroded money, fewer opportunities, inherited insolvency. Value destruction is total. Savings evaporate, investments stall, innovation flees. It's not sustainable compassion. It's deferred pain that compounds into degeneracy, where societies lose the will to stand, preferring adaptation to confrontation. In the end, the recommendation is clear-eyed realism mixed with resolve. Recognize enforced redistribution for what it is, the engine of plunder that empowers hubris and ensures decline. Push back by valuing production over administration, incentivizing work and family over dependency, rejecting inflationary financing of illusions, and demanding accountability that prunes privileges before they prune the nation. History offers warnings but also hints that reversal is possible if the productive awaken before total breakdown. It won't fix itself. Awareness and pressure from below are key. Keep questioning, stay grounded in reality, stay free.